Cedar Point is known as the roller coaster capital of the world. With so many world-class coasters, it is a destination spot for literally all enthusiasts. In 2013, they ended a bit of a coaster drought by adding Gatekeeper. Then 2 years later, they added another B&M, this time a dive coaster named Valraven. And finally, 2 years later, they added what is widely considered one of the best coasters in the world, Steel Vengeance. And ever since then, enthusiasts have been trying to predict Cedar Point's next attraction. So many ideas have been thrown around, and so I want to address every single one of them. Hey guys, welcome to Coaster Journey. And today we're going to predict Cedar Point's next coaster. And in this video, we're going to assume the next coaster is coming in 2022. I mean, do you really think they're going to put out some crap like this on the internet and it be like, I don't know, some random flat? Also, they've said multiple times that on their 150th year, 2020, that there would be just a bit of celebrating, and then the next year, 2021, would have a much bigger celebration. So yeah, that ended up getting moved back a year, and so the celebration would be in 2022 instead of 2021. Also, this area right here has had markings around it basically all of the 2021 season, along with Snake River Falls too, which most people haven't even seen. But I've actually seen these markings with my own eyes. So I'm gonna just say, for the sake of this video and convenience, that the next ride will be here. Take that into consideration when thinking about my picks. Cedar Point has basically all good B&M models, except for this one. This one is one of the most popular predictions I've heard, and on paper, it makes sense, but once you read between the lines, you really notice that this might be more unpopular than you think. First off is the obvious. Cedar Fair hasn't purchased one of these, and since CP is a spoiled brat, since CP gets all of the quality attractions, they usually like purchasing a fresh and new model, or a safe and reliable model, like Maverick taking a risk and it ended up starting the coaster war, then Gatekeeper, a safe and fairly fresh model that they knew would work, then Valraven, same thing as Gatekeeper, then Steel Vengeance, the biggest and baddest, very fresh model that went big. But the Flyer really isn't that reliable. There's a reason an American park hasn't purchased one of these in quite a bit of time. Not to mention how big the dueling stations are and the fact that Cedar Point would definitely want to break some records with this thing, which would take up a heck of a lot of space, something that Cedar Point just doesn't have. Another common argument is that a solid woody would be perfect for Cedar Point, something like Mystic Timbers. And when talking about this, people usually bring up the success of Mystic, and yeah, it was really successful, but I don't think this is right for Cedar Point. Sure, they need a good woody, but why do they need one? They already have a coaster in every category, fast pace, airtime, inversions, etc. And the only thing this would bring is the fact that they would now have a good ride made out of wood. Doesn't really change much in the grand scheme of things, not to mention that every GP thinks Steel Vengeance is a wooden coaster, so some people would get the new Woody mixed up with Steel Vengeance. In their advertising, they would probably want to break some records, height records included, and I don't see a GCI being able to do this with the small space Cedar Point has while making a good ride. I would see a ride like this have an inversion though, if one did come to Cedar Point, but I really just can't see Cedar Point buying one of these bad boys, though I really do want a classic Woody at Cedar Point. Ever since the success of Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City, many parks have been rumored to get one of these just like Silver Dollar. And as another got announced in 2020 coming to Plopsaland, many enthusiasts have been theorizing one of these coming to Cedar Point. And honestly, it makes sense to me. Cedar Point doesn't really have any good rides where the train moves, and this would add a twist to it, and be easily distinguishable from other rides on the roller coaster. If you think the price tag is a problem, just keep in mind that Steel Vengeance was cheap, so it wouldn't be a big blow to their wallet if they did this, considering how much money they saved by buying Steve instead of a bigger attraction. Now, not to mention the fact that Cedar Fair just spent a lot of money on Copperhead's strike. Heck, the same dollar as Silver Dollar did with Time Traveler. And maybe Carowinds was the testing ground to see if a mock coaster would flop. Because Cedar Fair doesn't want to make another Shoot the Rapids mistake, so theoretically this makes sense. But I'm not really sure if this will happen. There is one ride I think has a much higher likelihood that we will talk about later. There are two S&S models I've heard people predict that Cedar Point will be acquiring next. The first one is the 4D coaster, like X2 or Edgenica. The main argument I hear about this is that it could top Steel Vengeance, and Cedar Point said that their next roller coaster would, in fact, top Steel Vengeance. Okay, now this is a marketing scheme. They always market the newest coaster as the best one in the park, or in some cases, the best one in the world, so don't take this as a fact. And the next piece of evidence is that there is no chance this is coming in 2022. It takes up so much land and does not fit in the space with markings around it at all. Not to mention the insane price tags these attractions come with. And people think this is Gatekeeper due to its insanely similar seating. The other model I've heard is the Axis, and I could see this if it was Six Flags. Cedar Point doesn't have a great relationship with S&S, unlike Six Flags, so to purchase a prototype from S&S would be unheard of. It would take up a small amount of space though, and would be very easy to advertise. This segment will actually be pretty fast, but Cedar Fair hasn't worked with Intamin for a long time for obvious reasons, and so for them to purchase a pretty dead model from Intamin would be really unnecessary. Also, if they wanted to start working with Intamin, they wouldn't just purchase their biggest model and give it to their flagship park. They would start by purchasing something small and safe and giving it to a park that needs it. Now this is the winner to me. I could really see Cedar Point getting one of these very cheap, very compact, and very new to Cedar Point attractions. Hold up. I just want to say that I recorded this before the whole Gerstlauer announces they're making a new record-breaking coaster thing, so I won't mention that anymore, but that is just another piece of evidence to back up my prediction. Anyways, carry on with the video. This would fit their space perfectly, like really perfectly. Also, the lighting package would just look amazing and allow people to leave with the beautiful image of the lighting package in their head when they leave the point, and make it so they want to come back. Also, they don't have a ride with a vertical lift hill in the park, so this would be easily distinguishable from other rides, and they could market it as maybe the tallest, longest, fastest coaster with a beyond vertical drop. It would probably have the steepest drop, and maybe the tallest vertical lift hill, biggest drop on a coaster with a beyond vertical drop, I don't know. But yeah, this ride would fit the rock and roller coaster to perfection. That just about wraps up my theory for what Cedar Point is getting next. What do you think about my predictions? Let me know in the comments, and let me know your predictions down there as well. And while you're down there, help me out by dropping a like on this video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And if you want to see more, check out some of the videos on the screen now if they do take your interest. Anyways, this has been Coaster Journey, and I'll catch you in the next one.